Now, a lot of people wholesaling is where them try to have a career, and that's where sometimes you make the mistake of being inside of wholesaling too long.
Man, I'm like, okay, I got 30K in the bank account. I'm in Florida for the weekend. My brother having fun. Everybody having fun. Okay, cool. We'll make the money back. But I blew the money. Part of that. Also, just picking the wrong partner. I wasn't around the right person to influence my mindset.
But I realized real quick, I just want to deal with sellers.
Yeah.
It's like the agent don't understand the numbers, but at the same time, they're not willing to listen to you when you're trying to educate them on the phone. One thing that is very consistent with anybody that you meet and is doing deals consistently is it doesn't matter what it is. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Boom Effect podcast, guys. This is the podcast, obviously, where we have bold conversation, we have bold guests, and also where we bring entrepreneurs who are obsessed and who has an optimistic mindset, guys. And lastly, that have a mindset that is abundance, so that is willing to come here and share their experiences. Guys, today I'm here with my brothers, right? I'm here with my business partners. I'm here with the guys that I hang around with the most. You see me, you see them, you see them, you see me. And today, really, we want to address how we started in real estate. I think combined, we have about 10 years of experience, all combined, I would say. So like, if we were to go back, day zero, knowing everything that we know now, how are we maybe going to approach it differently? What would we do differently that maybe would put us like 5 years ahead? So we're going to talk about that today, different strategies that we've done, starting with, Andrew here, for example, 10 years from trucking in New Jersey to going into real estate wholesaling. We're going to explain what all those things means, to doing fix and flips, and now becoming a real estate developer. Same thing for 23-year-old Stephen Blow here. Went from also real estate wholesaling to doing his first few rentals to fix and flips to now also being in real estate new development. Same thing for me. So same journey, guys. Started with real estate wholesaling because we thought that was the only way to get into real estate, not knowing what we know now, and transitioning into fix and flips as well, buying whole single family, buying holds specifically, and now doing real estate new development as well. But if we were to go back to day zero, guys, what would we do different? How would we approach it? How would we have fast forwarded our journey into the real estate? All right? Is that an accurate depiction of the episode we're about to have?
It's a pretty accurate depiction,
All right.
I would say.
Fantastic, guys. So, guys, you're talking to people here that have experience. So I'm going to let Andrew introduce himself.
Okay, well, by this time now, because I know you're supposed to familiar with the Boom Squad, the name of Andrew, from Jamaica, as a Jamaican accountant, to keep the story short and brief. From Jamaica, as an accountant, came inside the United States, drove truck for the past 10 years until it led me down a path where real estate was the second career choice. Real estate now, been inside it for the last 3 years, done a bunch of stuff. As of course, Mamadou, we get introduced to real estate through wholesaling, and from wholesaling, we do a couple of fix and flips, and then fix and flips, couple of rentals, from rentals to now, full-time developer, full-time investor. Wonderful journey. Ever since I meet Steve,
Yes,
my career bump up a little bit. Then I meet Mamadou, and it even bump up a little bit more. And that's how the journey start, to make everything concise and brief. We're going to do way more episodes, so of course I got to hear the stories and stuff like that. But just to give a short introduction, that's me, truck driver to now, full-time real estate. Now, a lot of chips, a lot of bruises, a lot of mistake was made, but it was all worth it. Being here right now, still have mistake to make with the new journey Mamadou. So that's my introduction to you guys. When I hear more about the story and more about the journey.
100%. How about you, Steve?
Yes, sir. I'm going to keep mine very, very brief, you guys. 23-year-old entrepreneur. Grew up very ignorant. Did a lot of stuff when I was coming up. Went from house arrest to jumping into real estate pretty young. Met my first mentor right before I met Mamadou and Andrew. Lost a lot of money. I ended up making $180,000 my first year in wholesale real estate before I ended up meeting Mamadou and Andrew. Got the wrong partner. Ended up having him run off with half of that money. And then, basically started from scratch again. Ended up meeting Andrew after the kind of aftermath of everything. Regained my love for wholesale. After that, ended up meeting Mamadou and ended up acquiring 10 rentals at that point. So basically went from wholesale to owning 10 10 rentals with Mamadou, and then now we're in the real estate development journey, coming from Georgia all the way to Dallas. So
Fantastic,
been
guys.
amazing.
At only 23, I wish at 23 I wasn't in them clubs just partying. But guys, if you're not familiar with, if you're just watching this, you don't know us at all, and maybe you're new into America and you don't even know what real estate wholesaling is. Basically, here in the US, the real estate data is very public, right? So here in the US, it's legal to go find a homeowner who might be going through some difficulties. It could be divorce. It could be they're facing foreclosure because they haven't paid the lender. And if you're not shy to be on the phone and talk to these people or send them a text message, you can negotiate them, put them under contract, and essentially all you're doing is selling that contract for cash.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? I think right now we're about to close, 2 deals like that?
Yeah, we're finna close 2 deals like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So for those of you guys who are not familiar at all, this is something you can do in the US. Myself, spent about 17 years in Europe. Is not something you can do over there, right? Now, when we heard this strategy, I remember the appealing factor of it was, they were saying you don't need credit, right? So it's basically the low entry barrier to real estate. You don't need the credentials. You don't need, what else? Experience.
Yeah.
You don't need a license,
You don't need money.
right? You don't need money, right?
They really don't need money for true though.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, I think even that one is not necessarily true, that you don't need money. But again, we're just gonna talk, and my question would be this, right? And I'm gonna go one by one, and each one of you can say what you think. So if you were to go back right now and think about wholesaling, right? Most people that get into real estate wholesaling, the reason they start with that is because obviously they have bad credit. So saying no credit makes it appealing. Oh, I don't have good credit, so this is a great strategy for me to get in. 2, you don't need a license, right? That's also appealing. Most people, they can't afford the license. I don't know, but it at least removes all those barriers, right? And then another thing is you don't need the money in terms of, because you're not the one purchasing the property,
Right.
is the cash buyer, but still you have the marketing, obviously, now that we know that. You have to, pay to get the numbers. If you're driving around, you have the money for gas and those kind of things. But knowing what you know now, if you have to go back and you know that when you start a real estate wholesaling, the aspiration, at least for most, I know it was for me, is to become an actual investor. The investor is the person that buys the property and take ownership of the deed. That's the investor, really, not the wholesaler. You're just the middleman.
Right.
You're not an investor. So if you have to go back right now, knowing what you know now, and your aspiration was to become a real estate investor, do you think you would have wholesaled a year or 2 before you jump into investing? Like, talk to me. What would you have done different, you think, throughout your journey on the wholesaling?
Okay, so for me, to be honest, whenever I enter real estate, when I just get introduced to real estate, right? Wholesaling for me was a path for understand the real estate game. Now, a lot of people, wholesaling is where them try to have a career. And that's where sometimes you make the mistake of being inside of wholesaling too long, because it's a minimum entry, right? There's a lot of people there who not sure what is it that I'm doing and mess up the business. So for me, it was entering the business for understand the whole real estate game, and from there, we wholesale some deal until we can climb.
Yeah.
When we just enter wholesaling, Mamadou, development not even there on my mind, because me not even know nothing about development at the time. But being inside of wholesaling, even with fix and flip, didn't even think me like a fix and flip until I come across you like, hey, Andrew,
Yeah.
time to step it up now. You know what I mean? So the what wholesale do for me is introduce me to the game for see the other avenue and when we can take the investing inside of it. Now, what I would have done different is for wholesale less deal. I think wholesale for about 3 years straight.
3 years, okay.
3 years straight, full time, pre-foreclosure.
Dang.
Now, it do pay the bill, but if you stay in a grade 1 for 3 years, come on, you do a little bit too much. So my advice to the people who are wholesale, after you wholesale the first 5 deals, Mamadou, a time for graduate from wholesaling and try to grab your first flip.
Okay.
Then from you flip your couple, then you grab your first rental, because that was the advice when you watch these gurus them give you. After your first 5 wholesale deal, Mamadou, you're supposed to graduate. So for me, personally, I wouldn't wholesale for that long. Even though the money good, of course, but it's not investment, just like you just point out just now.
Right.
So that's how I kind of feel about it in terms of doing something different.
Okay. How many percentage of wholesalers you guys think close deals consistently? If you have to take a guess.
What you call it consistent?
Yeah, right.
Consistent. Like consistent means every month.
Every
Oh,
month.
man, a very
10%.
small percentage.
But give me a percentage.
Never 5.
Yeah, 10%. Yeah, like.
And for me, the five are the more bigger company. If
Right.
he's a single person or he's a 3-man person, you might come down to probably every 3 months you close a deal. That's how more that did.
Yeah, it's actually 5.
What?
Yeah,
5%?
It's
Okay,
less than 10%.
Less than 10%.
So basically here it says 90 to 95% of aspiring wholesalers never close a deal. Never. Not one.
95%.
95%?
So all them become wholesale.
right,
If they never
right.
close a deal.
Well, the thing is this. This is what I'm telling you, right? Guys, this is like we're giving you the raw, uncut reality of it. We're not here to sell you a course. We're not here. If I have to go back, there's a lot of garbage from the gurus, obviously, online. Like I said, what do they hammer home on? You don't need money, you don't need credit, you don't need this, you don't need that.
Experience.
The issue with that is now a bunch of people go on YouTube, listen to that, and then they start banging out calls. So they start banging out calls, they go on YouTube. Yesterday we had a newbie who called and went on a YouTube video, listened to the guru, and downloaded her proof of funds from, I guess, the comments. So people download their purchase and sale agreements, right, from gurus they listen to online. So how are the wholesalers? Is because they're attempting to, like they're on the phones calling. It's just they don't have the skills that it takes. So first is negotiations, because it doesn't matter. You can get lucky, close one deal every 6 months, but to close consistently, you actually have to be good on the phone. You have to be a great. So most people that crush it, what they don't say is they have sales background in selling cars, multi-level marketing sales, whatever. They've ran 12 different companies. The guru I'm talking about, they have 12 other different businesses. So that's what I mean, Andrew. So like most people are just on the phone, they're doing the marketing, they're spending the money, maybe they're hiring the VAs. I know I've had a lot of my workshops, newbies that came that have spent, I had a call from New York from a newbie. He was 150 or 200 grand in credit card debt from just paying VAs and marketing and not closing deals.
And then know where
Right? But that's a bunch. You understand what I'm saying? So I guess that's why they're saying, so aspiring wholesalers. So if you're on the phone trying to attempt to do it, we're aspiring to it. And then remember, most gurus are selling it as the financial freedom, because if you have a buy and hold, then you're dealing with tenants, toilet leaks, whatever. So they're like, oh, just wholesale because all you're doing is selling a piece of paper. You don't have to deal with all of that.
I agree.
So that's where it comes from. So, but regardless now, I guess my main question for you, Andrew, was if you were to talk to your old you that time, knowing what you know now, remember, knowing what the knowledge you have now, if you were giving advice to that Andrew that didn't know nothing about real estate, would you have told him just stick to wholesaling, or simultaneously, because your aspirations is to become an investor, meaning take down the properties, either flip them or do buy and holds, like meaning have rentals or Airbnbs or whatever, would you have advised that person simultaneously to maybe start working something like under credit, for example?
Of course.
You're trying to wholesale because you have bad credit, you're chasing a homeowner for 6 months to get a deal.
Of course.
And we know that too well, right?
Course.
So would you have given a different advice on that sense? That's what I meant.
Of course, 100%. Because remember, when you move, based on my experience, Steve, when you move from wholesaling and your next step is for fix and flip, you need good credit.
Of course.
You
Yes,
need
100%.
good credit for go to the lenders. You need good interest rate. You know what I mean? And you need borrowing power.
You're right.
So while you wholesale these first couple of deals, say for instance, your first deal, 10K, that are enough for get somebody for fix your credit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So once I get your first deal, out of the gate, start to work on your credit, because you graduate into grade 2, which is fix and flip, meaning you're going to need good credit to increase your buying power.
Agree.
Your credit, your knowledge of the game. What else we can improve while give me some more things that can improve while you're the wholesaling to get yourself ready for fix and flip.
Communication skills. That's something that you take away from wholesaling that you don't get, but I say communication skills.
Relationship with lenders. Right? You could start,
there we go. Yeah.
not just calling sellers, you could start calling hard money lenders to build a relationship for DSCR loans.
Okay.
So what I would start doing is, one of the things that here in the US, and lucky for a lot of immigrants that haven't been to the US school system, is the most important thing to understand here is the financial system, the banking system. How does the loans work?
Of course.
What is the different kind of loans you have access to for different type of investments? If you're doing a fix and flips, what are the best ones? If you're trying to buy a property where maybe you're going to live in, but you also want it to be an investment, what is the best loans for that? So that would go into financial literacy at that point.
Right.
So now you have to do research, you have to sit down and read, banking system, different financing options, what lenders lenders don't require a shitload of credit. Maybe like if you have like a 650, which is not much, right? 650 credit score.
Yeah.
We know now, knowing what we know now, anybody can go from 0 to 650 or from 500 bad credit score to, fixing it. And it costs less than a Starbucks.
Yeah.
Right? And we didn't know. I know I didn't know, because if I knew, I'm going to chime in later, I wouldn't even have wholesale, period. Me personally.
Okay.
But I'm going to let you chime in.
Oh yeah, I mean, in all honesty, like me being young,
Which question you answer first?
The same question. So what would you advise the Steve, from what you know now? First, would you have wholesaled as, how many years?
Yeah, I did it 5 years.
Overall?
Yeah, 5 years.
5 years
I did it
wholesaling.
5 years. Yeah.
So would you have wholesaled that long before you transition into actually becoming an
Hell
investor
no.
that's first? Yes. Yeah. So like that's the first thing. How many deals would you have wholesale at the most?
Me personally, honestly, I'm gonna cut yours short of 5. I probably would have did 3 deals, 2 to 3 deals, just to get the capital to go build my credit, knowing what I know now. Only because
that's a couple of months.
Yeah, literally. I wouldn't even wholesale longer than a year. I only would have wholesale just to gain the communication skills, because that is the only thing I can say wholesaling brought was the communication skills. Being able to talk with sellers on the phone and negotiate your deals.
I like that.
Once I gain that skill, I'm out.
Marketing too.
Yeah, all right, the marketing.
Marketing, no.
Yeah. Oh, what do you mean?
Marketing, no.
Elaborate.
Tell you why?
Yeah, elaborate.
Okay. When you call in a homeowner, you're prospecting, but you're not really doing marketing. Is like you go pay. Now you can pay a company. When I started in 2018, before that, the year before, 2017, 2016, 2015, there was not all these companies that are selling leads. Like literally you can just pay them, get the leads. There wasn't all these like the prop streams, the prop wires. Like, I mean, they did exist, but it wasn't like a bunch. You have so many choices to where you can just go pull the data. So before all these third-party companies that are aggregating all the data, you can just go pull it. Exist, you had to be a great marketer. You had to know how to run your own Google ads. You had to know how to go into the county, take the data and clean it and do all this like manually. It was like very manual. You had to be very strategic. But now you can what you do need now is to focus more on the sales side, because the data, you can take it from the website directly. The people that start with the money, they literally start using third-party companies to feed them inbound leads. You have the PPC, you have the PPLs. So you can literally buy like hot leads already or warm leads.
Yeah, right.
A lot of newbies actually do that, where they spend a lot of money because those cost a lot, but they don't have any closing skills. And so like one lead, I think, is about like, it could go all the way to $300 for one lead. So you no longer nowadays is in terms of the marketing, you're absolutely not required to be a marketing genius, but you have to be a great
sales closer
on the phone.
Okay.
That's the difference between prior to 2017 and after 2018. It was like all these third-party companies, like everybody have a data company, everybody have a skip tracing company. Like you didn't have to, So now I would argue you don't have to be a great marketer, but you do have to be a great salesperson still.
Okay.
I can't say this though. When you say marketing and what aspect were you talking about with the marketing? Because I would like to still, I still want to hear him elaborate.
Me, once you have the lead generation, you market somewhere, somehow. So when you say marketing, whether you have the text blasting, whether you have a cold calling, because you have some company who, because the acquisition, it's all underneath the name of acquisition. But of course, the market, you spend some cash, whether even if you have the PPC, if you try to bring in the lead, but still, in my head, all of that for the lead generation still requires some type of person to go out the go. Make a name be out there. Even if you go out and get in contact with like farm relationship. You market yourself in some way, shape or form. You just have to have a good personality.
I agree.
And can communicate properly. So
would you say the person that is getting started in real estate, if you have to go back, let's say the Steve that never had sales background, never worked at a sales position, maybe at a 9 to 5, would you say that person is probably a good fit to go through the school of cold calling, actually being on the phone,
100%.
talking to the homeowners, negotiating? Would you say that?
100%. Now, Funny part, I was actually about to elaborate on that. I probably would have, and I was talking to a young guy named Gavin about this not too long ago, maybe 2-3 days ago. Man, me personally, if I had to restart it all over from the beginning, I probably would have went to join a wholesale team, or like you said, join a car sales team, just to get the sales skills. Like that's literally what I would have did first. I would probably got on somebody who doing wholesale on a high level, got on their acquisitions team, and I told you work my way to my first 2 or 3 deals, all right? Just to get the idea of how a wholesale company works, understanding their marketing, of course, and also just getting used to underwriting the properties, right? Because that is a skill that we also gain through the wholesaling.
Yeah.
Once I got to that point and got that done, oh yeah, I would have started working on my credit at that point. I would have started still stay under that company, but I would have started now pitching this idea to the owner. Hey, listen, I'm your buyer now. My credit is set up. I've built this credit. I have this, capital on the side. Let me be the buyer for your deals, right? I'll go out and negotiate my own deal, pay the company a fee, and let me take over the deal at that point.
Because technically, if you fix your credit, you can go to a DSCR loan lender,
right,
where they're not necessarily looking at your personal credit, even though they do look at it,
right, but
they're also lending you asset-based. The loan is based on the asset. So they're looking at, okay, let's say you're flipping a home. They're looking at if you have enough profit margins.
Correct.
If ever you can they get the house back, sell it, and get their money back or whatever. So if you have enough meat on the bone, they will pre-qualify you. So now you're pre-qualified, the amount you have access to just with 620 to 650 credit score.
Right.
And then if you have at this point wholesaled and even have 10 to 20K on the side, you will be able to bring in probably the money for, the down payment or the closing fees and things like that. And if, like you said, through the wholesaling, you've been a great networker, you will have the person that will probably JV with you and lend you their credibility, because you're going to need to show somebody that have experience, that have already flipped. So they're probably going to lend it to you, right? So I think, to me, if I have to go back, I would probably start working on if I knew, because I thought fixing first of all, I didn't hear about credit until maybe a year in, like legit. I didn't even know, I didn't understand nothing. When people keep saying credit, in Europe, I never heard that term. So I never even paid it mind. I just focused on I just want to sell this paper, blah, blah, right? But if I know what I know now, because when I left my 9 to 5, I was Ubering, I would use my Uber income. It's like what? On average, it costs like $700 to fix your credit. You don't need 10K to fix your credit.
Yeah.
$700. I would use my Uber income simultaneously as I'm looking for leads for wholesaling. I would already start with working with somebody who will help me fix my credit simultaneously. Because now, once I start bringing these deals in, I can cherry pick. Especially if I knew, I thought only the big banks exist.
Right.
So if I would have done any research on the banking and financing, I would have learned that there is such thing as hard money lenders, DSCR loans, all these like different asset-based loans.
So hold on, Mamadou. Mama ask you a question. You would skip wholesaling completely and go straight to
No, I didn't say skip it. I said simultaneously.
Okay.
I wouldn't have waited till a wholesale 3, now I have 30 grand, then I go fix my credit. I wouldn't have done that. From day one. Gotcha. As I'm Ubering, my income for Uber, I'm taking $700, I'm going to fix my credit.
Okay.
Or build my credit up if I don't have any credit profile. While I'm still doing the wholesaling, I wouldn't change nothing. And the reason I wouldn't change nothing with the wholesaling is because me personally, I was a commercial agent before, but it wasn't like sales, because clients come to you. There was no cold calling involved. There was no texting. There was no proactive sales. When you're wholesaling, it's proactive sales. Because you have to call, you have to learn how to talk, you have to communicate, you have to negotiate. Like you said, you have to learn how to underwrite. So I wouldn't change just for that skill. I would still do the prospecting, but I wouldn't have sold more than 2 probably deals in terms of like wholesaling the contract.
Okay.
That's what I mean. So I would have done it simultaneously, if that kind of makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
And I would have become an investor way faster.
Okay.
Because I remember, like, if I have to go back, like, some of these deals I've left probably 100 grand on the table and made 5K, knowing what I know now. So, and if you build great relationship with these cash buyers, if you bring the property, you have it on the contract, and you're not willing to take a fee up front, I found a lot of them will be more than willing to JV with you and split the profits in the back end. I know, because that's how I found my first one, but just ask it.
Yeah.
So I didn't know. So my point is, I wish somebody had told me, hey, sit down. This is the US. This is no longer Belgium. understand the banking system, do some research. What are the different options that you have to get financing? Because what is the biggest hurdle for people to get into finance? If you had 500 grand when you started, would you have wholesale?
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The only reason you're wholesaling is lack of financing. So if your credit is right and you get the financing, why would you wholesale really? Put the skill on the side, like in terms of the sales.
Okay, so wholesaling, Mamadou, and this is how I look on it. Wholesale give me the knowledge, I offer flip. So say I have 500K right now, right? Me have good credit. Me not think what I did know nothing about flipping, because me coming in, because me not even did know more to become an investor, being a wholesaler. It was me being a wholesaler, understanding how the business go with fix and flipping and how buy and hold operate. That's when they so for most.
So for the wholesale was just I want to make money. I want to make 10 grand. I want to make 10 grand. I see.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
I see.
And then me
I
like go
see.
in, I'm say 10 grand, and then the man over here is I make 50.
I
That's my
see.
flipping. I'm
I see.
like, whoa,
I see.
hold
I
on.
see.
You know, and
Yeah.
I saw it go. So for me, coming in, I don't know nothing about investing. I don't know nothing about financial literacy. Because the amount of my check, my mess up. Just get 10 grand and like Steve.
Lego,
Yeah.
Lego.
Yeah.
Whoa.
We balling. We balling. 10K, I'm going to Puerto Rico. We
Yeah.
balling.
That's
Next thing you know, 2 days you're out of money.
Yeah, right.
Like, shit, I gotta come back.
Honestly.
95% of wholesaler is like
That's what
that.
happens. Yeah. They make 10K. It's not just wholesalers. I was doing research in the sales industry in general.
Yeah.
So people that work for big companies, whether it be car industry or whatever, most young salespeople, if they make a commission today,
Yeah.
Done tomorrow.
they disappear. They go vacation when it's done, then they come back and grind again and grind again. So
Oh,
it's the
damn.
same mindset. But I see, because that means, this is why, guys, you need to know thyself. I think the Bible talks about it, the Quran talks about it. Know thyself. The reason I'm saying that is because me and you, we've entered in it with a complete different mindset.
Yeah.
Me, when I entered, I knew I wanted to be an investor because I tried in Europe.
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to take these properties down and hold them for the long term. At the time, I was thinking more like rentals, buy and holds.
Okay.
I knew that. But in Europe, because I couldn't make it happen, like you cannot wholesale in Europe, the data is completely private. You cannot do things like subject to in Europe. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like when I learned that here, you can just get the data online just from my computer, and all I have to do is to not be too scared to dial it and talk to a stranger, which 95% of people in the US are. They're completely scared, right? So my approach was different. So that's why I'm thinking that way. But what was your mindset going in?
No, I was literally.
Was it just a 10K thing? Let me make a 10K.
You know, no. Honestly, my goal was to build a wholesale company. I wanted to build $1 million wholesale company. But I think the funny part, when I got around you and Andrew, y'all look bad. You and Andrew. Like, at first, when I first jumped into wholesale, my goal was to make $1 million in wholesale. I just didn't realize that the type of marketing it would require and the overhead it would require with managing a team, dealing with the VAs, skip tracing, pulling data every other week. So number one, I didn't get a mentor. And again, like you just said, I blew half of the money. I was on trips. I had a girlfriend at the time. Stay single till you make it. But
Because you were absolutely sure the next deal is coming.
yeah, man. I'm like, okay, I got 30K in the bank account. I'm in Florida for the weekend. My brother having fun. Everybody having fun. Okay, cool. We'll make the money back. But yeah, you know, just having fun. I blew the money. Part of that. Also, just picking the wrong partner. I wasn't around the right person to influence my mindset. But yeah, I wanted to make $1 million with a wholesale company. And then I think through meeting you and Andrew, my mind started to alter a little bit. Because when we ended up doing our first flip together, I'm like, oh man, I was like, let me go back and look at a few of the wholesale deals I did. I'm looking at the spreads. I'm like, okay, I made 30K, but the investors made 70. I'm like, so I got 100K I could have potentially made had I not wholesaled that deal.
Yeah.
So it kind of started altering my mindset. Like, man, why am I leaving all the funds on the table? And then two, I just feel like you constantly, it's like a squirrel trying to chase a nut with the next wholesale deal over and over and over.
So you left the 9 to 5.
Yeah, to get another 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It's like...
Which is actually, this 9 to 5 is harder.
Right,
If you think
way
about it. Because
harder.
at least at your 9 to 5 with a boss, at a
Right.
job, corporate job,
Yeah.
when you finish, you don't have to think anymore.
Right.
I'm done. I don't have to think about payroll. I don't have to think about market budgeting. I don't have to think about what ideas I need tomorrow or like upping my sales skills.
Right.
That's the boss's problem.
All right.
If the company go bankrupt tomorrow.
Right.
But when you start wholesaling, then you went from how many hours a week typically in corporate
You
here?
go
This is not a 9 to 5, it's a 12 to 12.
Exactly.
This is a 12 to 12.
So it's actually worse.
Right.
It's actually worse. You start getting drained, and this is what I'm saying, right? The experience we started having. So guys, as you can see, we all entered in with a different mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I'm telling you guys one thing for sure. If I were to go back knowing what I know now, I would do both simultaneously because you're absolutely right, Andrew. The wholesaling do teach you the flow of real estate from A to Z. How do you find a distressed homeowner? How do you underwrite a distressed home? How do you solve problems for that homeowner? How do they move out? Whatever the case may be. How do you deal with the attorneys, the title companies? The shit that goes wrong at closing, you thought you're gonna make 10K, you end up with 5, right?
Right.
So, but once you learn that, I wouldn't change that. So I would still wholesale, but I would probably, for me, the day I learned the word joint venture, that shit changed my life.
Right.
The day I understood, hold on, you know you don't have to do this by yourself, right? I was like, hold on. So people do joint ventures? That was my first, I heard the person said JV. So it was JV. Then he explained it was joint venture. I'm like, oh, so like the example I gave you earlier, if you had the $500, going on the MLS and finding a distressed home will be way faster for you than calling homeowners and trying to negotiate.
Yeah.
But yes, you're absolutely right in the sense of if you were trying to become an investor, again, guys, this comes down knowing to yourself, right? Now you can just go find somebody who's flipping in your local area. They don't have to go find the property. You have the credit, you've secured a DSCR loan. You don't have to go do that. All they have to do is to come and bring the renovation costs, the construction crew, and then you're learning alongside them from A to Z how do you flip a home. That's how I would do it, and that's how I actually did my first. You understand what I'm saying? So in that sense, but again, guys, it all depends on, I think you gotta think in terms of short-term goal and long-term goal.
Yeah.
And the more you learn, the more you start to also know thyself. Because in the beginning, we're all excited about wholesaling.
Right.
The more we got into it, the more we started, I hate this shit. Like this thing, there has to be something more, right? So what was that point for you, Andrew? What was the point where you were like, I think it's time to
I was
Level
about
up.
to, I was about to ask the same question.
When we start to close a 30,000 on a deal and then it's like back to the next deal again, it have no effect. You feel no way. You know, so you need to extend the challenge.
Okay.
And for me, once I meet Mamadou, him increase the knowledge as to, hey, we are wholesale enough. Let's travel first, fix and flip, or travel first one, the second one, the third one, until each one of them is a success. And that for me are when everything changed. Even when after the fix and flip, Mamadou, him run out of steam. Not run out of steam in terms of weird parts. Him just bored. Him easily get bored.
Yeah.
He's a guy where always I look for the next challenge. And that's what I love about him, because him always I push the envelope. And that just keep on pushing everything. That's my experience with him, by the way. By the time him do couple fix and flip, him like, Andrew, what we do again?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why I like hang on him, because him push the envelope. How you, from your perspective, how everything kind of mesh in as to how you grow from wholesaling. We know you did run a business to fix and flip, and then now to development.
No, that's a great question. So for me, early on, once we kind of got the wholesaling out of my system, and I got around you, right, and we started wholesaling, done the agent outreach and everything. Don't do agent outreach. It's terrible.
Terrible.
When you say agent outreach, what does that mean?
Yeah, so what we were doing is we were doing like a wholesaling where we were actually reaching out to agents to get their off-market deals to see if they can send those deals before they hit the market over to us. Well, the thing that you find is most agents don't do deals. So they don't have off-market deals to send you is the first thing. And secondly, they don't know how to underwrite and comp. Just because you have a license does not mean you know real estate. A lot of these people just get these licenses as a trophy, keep them in their shelf, and just walk around all day until they get a friend or family they want to list. So
I just one for say you have a license, two is an next 9 to 5.
Right.
Just like any other
just like
license.
anything. So,
And I mean, if you pay attention to how long it takes to get the license, 2 weeks?
yeah, you get a license 3 weeks.
2 weeks. If you pay attention to their training, it's really hard to blame them. Because their training is it's more like theory, and it's more on the legalities of things. It's like, this is illegal, this is illegal, this is illegal, just do that. Kind of, they don't get trained on, pumping properly, understanding how an investor think, because they're more geared toward that homeowner that have a home already fixed up looking to sell it, or you want to buy your first single family home to live in, and you reach out to them and they help you with it. So it's kind of like how they're trained as well. So it's kind of hard to blame them. So guys, he's referring to licensed realtors. Some states they call them licensed real estate agents. Some states they call them. So yes. So like basically you calling them and saying, hey, do you have properties that you haven't put on the market yet?
Right.
And I have cash buyers. They call them pocket listing.
Yeah, they call them pocket
Got
listings.
it. So that was rough?
Very rough. And the whole time of doing it, I think we took a 6 or 7 month turnaround of doing that, one deal.
Just like I asked that, like, how much of these deals they actually close reaching out to
One.
agents?
And I'm gonna tell you this now: the agent on that deal made more than us and the homeowner on that deal. She wouldn't take. Just would not come off her commission. We ended up walking away with $3K. I don't know if y'all remember that deal. We ended up walking away with $3K. The agent actually ended up making $8,000 on that deal, and the seller only ended up walking away with $2K because it was just that tight of a deal.
Why agent? I mean, we know you have to do your commission, but why is it that most agents will rather kill a deal or want to walk with more than the homeowner? Because for me, sometimes those things will play upon your conscience.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, the average agent makes less than 50K a year, and 99.9% of agents don't close anything. They just have the license because they're not taught what the wholesaler have to learn, which is what? The sales and the marketing.
Right.
So because they're not taught that, they're not hunting, they're not proactive. Most agents you're going to talk to that have listings, it was a referral. An auntie, cousin knows somebody, they listed a property 3 years ago. The top 1% agents, those are like badass on the phone, they're super proactive, they respond to them. How many times you've called the agent on a distressed pre-foreclosure homeowner and he texts them 3 weeks to get back to you when the homeowner is actually facing auction?
No, you actually think of them home. Sometimes you're like, bro, I wonder if the client where you represent I got you a tough time. The way how you operate, the way how you conduct business, it don't look like you have your client best interest at heart. We're running at that all the time.
Remember when we had our real estate workshop in Georgia, all the agents that came in, the first training they needed was one, comping, two, on the phone. We had to sit them to cold call. They didn't know how to have a conversation.
Agreed.
But most importantly, understand how does an investor look at a property? Like you as an investor, you're trying to flip. You call forget about wholesaling. You call a real estate agent, you say, I'm looking for deals. They go find a home that is listed or themselves have a listing and they listed at $300,000. The home need 90K of renovation, but you cannot sell it for more than 350. And they send it to you and go, oh, here's something, look at it. How many times, right? Yeah. So that's the frustration with real estate agents. So, but now with the regulations and everything, I think most of them are trying to, you know what, I might have to look into this real estate wholesaling thing or learn, you know,
work with them.
Work with them, or at least learn how to invest. Because something is not working out. Plus, now I think their commissions are negotiable. There's multiple lawsuits they just lost, millions.
We love the agent, by the way.
The unicorn agents. I hate 99.9% of agents. Unicorn agents.
Mamadou, what you do to me? Listen, we love the agents. Don't want them to send something like
Unicorn agents.
Steve, what you experience with those agents? All of the year.
I'll be honest with you. I can go a day without doing a deal with an agent.
Who was the person that told you, hey, if you look into wholesale, start with agent outreach?
Oh man, dude.
No, you don't have to. But is it what I'm saying? Like you don't have to call their name. But was it like online mentor? Was it a physical mentor? Like what?
Of course. All the gurus, like other gurus tell you, oh, go.
They were saying it's easier.
Yeah, it's easy. Get on the phone. Go call the agents and anything. What they fail to tell people a lot of times is they have a certain type of credibility that gets them in the door with the agent, right? So when you first call that agent, they instantly know you. They watched your videos, so they already have that kind of affinity.
It do work. I'm not saying like the strategy don't work if I guess you put in the right
if
amount
you
of
work it.
Of course. And you don't need a bunch of agents. You need 10, probably 15 agents for make a strategy like that work. Somebody who are constantly active, sending them pocket listing. But you really don't need 40 agents, 15 the most, or probably 10 good agents active inside of the space. And
And again, guys, that's the thing, right? It's a matter of, because I've tried both in the beginning myself, accidentally, but I realized real quick, I just want to deal with sellers. This all this like the agent don't understand the numbers, but at the same time, they're not willing to listen to you when you're trying to educate them on the phone that, hey, you have this property listed at 300, your comps are completely off. There's no way you can sell it for 490, and the house need 90K of renovation. She's like, no, just 25K. Okay, how many properties have you renovated? I've never renovated it, but I know. Okay, so I found out really quick, I don't like talking to agent, period. So I'm like, you know what? With the homeowner, there's nobody in the middle oftentimes. I can negotiate way easier, way simpler, let me say. And there is way less hurdles I have to deal with to get this shit to the finish line. So I'm like, let me just stay away from agents.
I agree.
So any agent at that point I started dealing with was if they come to me, once I started posting on social media. So if they come to me, I'm stuck with something, then I step in, right? What is the most you made on a wholesale fee one time? The most in terms of wholesale fee? Assignment.
My closer deal with for $107,000.
$107,000. How about you?
Yeah,
That's one deal, guys.
Yeah, 107,000 with you.
107,000.
Yeah.
Prior to that one,
Okay,
how much
okay.
big, like the most?
68.
On one deal, $68,000.
My closer deal with 68.
Damn,
90.
$90,000.
Yeah, 90,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think me too. I think it's the 107 we closed together. Prior to that, I had 84,000. Yeah, 84,000 on one deal. Wholesaling.
Yeah.
That one before me.
That's before I was in Maryland, guys. So my journey started in Maryland, then went from Maryland. When I got bored in Maryland, I had multiple workshops. Went to North Carolina. From North Carolina, then I came to Georgia and started the workshop.
Question.
That's where we met.
Was the 84,000 was it pre-foreclosure? What marketing company?
That's the funny part. That's what I was gonna say. So what you were saying earlier, guys, one thing that I found with at least the wholesalers that take it seriously as a business, that's first. That close deals consistently. What I mean by consistent, meaning they're closing deals every single month, are typically the one that have picked one niche and stuck with that niche. Whether that be agent outreach niche, if you really stick with it, it's gonna work. If you work, if you're just doing that,
Of course.
you pick pre-foreclosures or probates or whatever, but they have a specialty. So when I accidentally closed my first deal, which was a $68,000 assignment fee, it was a pre-foreclosure. I didn't know that's what it's called. Because when I found it, the guy said, hey, I used to be a general contractor. I failed at my job. I can no longer use my back. I've been in the hospital for 2 years. And he thought the bank already took the property. And he didn't know they haven't taken it. So I went on Facebook, find somebody to help me with it. Then I learned, oh, this is what we call pre-foreclosures. I'm like, oh yeah? I'm focusing on this.
Okay.
Then I went all in on pre-foreclosures because one thing I started to realize is, they told me I have to find distressed homeowners. These people are already distressed before I called them. Like, John, I didn't have to do any negotiations.
Them on, wave them on.
It wasn't easy, but it was way simpler because he was already distressed. So I'm like, okay, if I can focus on these people here, I have a bigger chance to find deals way faster because they're already motivated before I call them. Now it's just a matter of calling them and convincing them I'm the right person to solve the problem.
Correct.
And the data is easy to find. Auction.com, preforeclosure.com, county website, you name it, and you don't need a lot of records. Because I remember when I was doing like high equity and vacant, I have to deal with like 10,000 records, 20,000 records just to get like one potential.
The thing with pre-foreclosure are really quality
over quantity. Now, you take the same approach with every single, guys, you guys know how many networking events we've been through.
Yeah.
You guys know how many very well-known gurus we've shaken hands with in backstages, doing things in the back end that they don't really necessarily talk about, right?
Yeah.
But one thing that is very consistent with anybody that you meet and is doing deals consistently is they have a niche. It doesn't matter what it is. You meet somebody, they go, I only do probates. They're closing deals. They've mastered it. They know exactly how the probate process works in that market. They know which is the baddest attorney in that market for the, like I had this friend of mine, she does in Jacksonville. There is not maybe a probate attorney in Jacksonville that knows better probate process than her. All she does. Killer. She might close one deal every 90 days or so, but the probate spreads are so big that like every time she closes like 6 figures.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So is that you like pre-foreclosures, door knocking, right? What happens to most wholesalers, I'm sure you guys notice this, is the shiny object syndrome.
Of course.
Right? The best advice my dad ever gave me as a child, he said, listen, don't ever listen to 3 mentors at once. Always pick one.
Right.
If you go on YouTube, you watch Steve. Steve says, man, I just closed a deal by calling the agents and I made $35,000. And you, Andrew, you were marketing to pre-foreclosures, you're building your pipeline, you're getting traction because you're talking to people that are motivated, but you just heard Steve say, he called the agents, what do you do next day?
Switch.
You stop building your pre-foreclosure pipeline and you go, hey, which list? And then now you want to do agents. And then next day, you listen to Andrew. Andrew say, I closed a deal by doing probates. Now you want to do probates. 99.9% of wholesalers that are not succeeding, they have zero niche, they have zero focus. Even they go to change the strategy, every guru they listen to, they want to try that strategy. So that's the thing, guys. You got to pick a niche. So with that being said, though, how do we go from wholesaler to fix and flips? By the way, guys, we didn't talk much about fix and flips, but I think it's a fantastic way to learn construction.
Of course.
To flip houses, right? So for those of you that don't know what that means, it's basically just finding homes that are already like beaten up completely. You put in money, you renovate it, put it back on the market, you sell it for a profit, right? That will teach you a lot about construction. That will teach you a lot about, project management.
Yeah, people management,
right?
Man.
How much you made on your first fix and flip?
What we made, Steve? Steve, you had the numbers there.
How much was the first fix and flip you made?
Yeah, we ended up making $35,000.
$35,000. But the projected profits was $62,000.
That's what I wanted to touch base on. We projected 62.
Let's start first. How you found the property?
Yeah, Andrew actually found the property door knocking. I'm gonna let him tell the story. I remember y'all found that property door knocking, if you remember.
Guys, he's Jamaican. He's different. So he goes in front of the door. He knocks and be like, "Open the door." No, not like that. But like, guys, I just learned honestly 99.9 never. Door knocking is the roughest and the most scary sales strategy for people.
Shit, he made it fun. He made a sport out of it.
Second to that is what? Guess what?
Door knock.
Yeah. So it was a door knock.
It was a door knock. I mean, Steve did come on the appointment with me.
Yeah, I did.
And Steve sit down inside of the so watch me close the deal there. Watch me lock the deal up.
So it was a pre-foreclosure?
It was a pre-foreclosure.
Okay.
The situation was, I'm in a pre-foreclosure. I'm going to try to relocate closer to the husband job, the wife. They want a little bit of money for move with. Him did have a lot of equity.
Yeah.
But the house in a rough condition because them did have a dog.
Yeah.
Where live inside of the house. So you can just imagine there was a lot of leak. Mamadou, the one that I think it up on your page.
Yeah.
This is the day I can't use. But the numbers on it did make sense.
Yeah, for
Take it
sure.
up and flip it.
Yeah.
When I come to you with it, you're like, you want to do the flip? I'm like, yeah, because we like a wholesale it. It wasn't music wholesale. I'm like, you want to do it? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I can raise the funds and get it done.
Yeah.
Like, let's show.
Yeah, guys, we have, I'm probably going to put it here. We have a whole video walkthrough in the beginning with that. That was a fun one, but it was the first fix and flip experience for them. It was a blood pressure.
I love it, though. They love every second of it, bro. Steve, remember me I said to you, bro, this is what we need for though.
Yeah.
This is what we definitely need for though. Once Mamadou walk you through and kind of give you the blueprint, it's like, this is what we definitely need for though. You're like, yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, that experience was amazing. I never dreamed of doing a fix and flip then. Andrew convinced me, and then when we did it and walked through it with you, I'm like, man, this actually fun. I remember going through the property multiple times, dealing with the GCs, man. It was a headache. Then even at the end of it all, I remember we had some overage that came back and we had to argue with the owner to go get some funds back.
It was a check we got back, but it was written. Was it the insurance? What was it?
Yeah, with the insurance. I think that one of the title attorneys ended up messing up.
No, remember, we pay the taxes.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
But we'll close. I think we'll close August, so we're going to pay the taxes for the entire year.
Yes. Yeah.
So what happens is that we get a refund from the property
and
taxes.
get it back through the lender.
Yeah.
So guys, depending what time of the year you're closing on the property, sometimes what the closing attorney will do essentially is force you to pay the whole year of taxes in order to be able to record the deed. Otherwise they can't because the county won't allow it. But remember, if a mortgage is being paid, now one of the things missing pieces here, guys, is we closed on that deal subject to. That means we didn't buy cash. We convinced the owner to leave that loan on their name, and we just took over the responsibility of making the monthly payments. We transferred title, so we owned the property, but the loan stayed on the seller's name. So we just keep making the payments. So now when we went to record the deed, obviously, if you pay the full year taxes and you also have a monthly mortgage payment that is being made, 99.9% of loans, the taxes is also embedded into the monthly payment. So now you paid it twice. So you can go back to the lender and claim that. And so we paid it and then went back to the lender. But obviously, because the loan is still on the owner's name, on whose name did they write the check? to the owner. So
Right.
technically the owner could have fled with that check.
Yeah.
But we were very convincing because I remember that call. I will never forget it. It was
I mean, the guy who did the good by the guy, just like we do.
Yeah, definitely.
It's tough for you to sell a kind of backdoor the way out.
Yeah.
Right.
You got, I mean, this is problem solving, guys. You got to be ethical. These guys were going through a lot. The house you could barely breathe in. They left us 2 dogs. Andrew almost got bitten by one of them.
Oh,
we
I
came
forgot
into
they
the
left the
property. We
dog.
didn't know they left the dog, right?
Damn, I forgot they
So
left the
with
dog.
that being said, guys, now how do you go from fix and flips to now new development? Like, what is that? What trigger?
Steve can tell you, but it did only make sense because from grade 3 is grade 4 next.
Right.
So it's not like we could have got back down to grade 2. So when we kind of exhaust the whole fix and flip idea and we want the next challenge with a bigger spread, whereas we start to want for own multi-family, we start to look into this thing called development. Develop, of course, you know, you have way more equity inside of the property when you hold it. And it just makes sense when once we start to do the numbers. I remember coming to Steve like, bro, why is it that we not do this strategy? And I'm like, we don't know. I'm gonna come to you also. You're like, oh, let's do it. And that's in a freaking
2 3 weeks? It wasn't even a month. I promise you, it wasn't even a month.
The transition quick.
Yeah, it was very quick. It was very quick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, guys, is because, you know, you have to be very obsessed. Because for us, we're obsessed with this.
Yeah, of course.
We take it very serious. We're playing the long game. It wasn't like, hey, I want to get rich overnight type of thing. And we're committed to the journey. And so, like you said, first, wholesaling, you get bored.
Right.
How many papers is not fulfilling? You're not, you know, so at some point, you're like, okay, you know what? Fix and flips. Now you have the GCs, you're feeding families, and then you're beautifying neighborhoods. The problem with the flips, and this is where the lack of knowledge, if I know what I know right now, man, I would be so like sucking up reading every single book on real estate that I can find.
Yeah.
Because we would have probably spotted it somewhere. I don't think we were reading as much as we're doing right now, right? But guys, the circle you hang around with is so, because these 2 guys, there's always like, hey, read this book. I see in this podcast, listen to this, watch that, right? But you get bored at some point. Plus, we discovered that, remember, when we did the fix and flip, it took us maybe like what? 4 to 6 months overall from renovating the property, dealing with the headaches with the GCs, the delays. But on a fix and flip, you know, most fix and flippers, the most you can hope to make is 12%.
Return.
Yeah, so that means, guys, if you're renovating a property that you can only sell for $300,000, well, you're looking to make $30,000 to $32,000.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So that's your spread. The problem with that is there is always, right? Delays happens, unpredictable expenses that you didn't, you know, plan for. And so because your profit margins are so small, any delay or any extra expense also eat into that. So you could start with a 62 spread, but because you don't have a big error margin, by the time you're done, you're left with 25K.
Yeah.
But now you're talking about 6 months of your life, which is a lot of time. And then you're talking about all the headaches that comes with it, all the potential GC disappearing.
Right.
We're going to do another episode, guys, where we're going to talk about, you know what, that one will be nightmares with fix and flips. I got dozens of stories with that stuff, but you can have a GC disappear with your money, right? Or whatever the case may be. So we realized, okay, it take the same amount of time, and we didn't know, to build a single family from the ground up and sell it. The only difference is you're making 25, 30% profit margin. So you have a way bigger margin. So worst case scenario, if you start with 150K profit and shit goes left and you fuck up for, I don't know, 25, 50K, you still walk away with 6 figures.
Right.
So it was worth the 6 months of. I think that was one of the things.
Yeah.
And then as we started looking into it, we started realizing, oh shit, hold on. This is the university for real estate.
Right.
Because there's no ceiling.
And next thing what catch my attention inside of the world of development is the amount of control you have over getting a project all the way from ground. Because with fix and flip, Steve, we're gonna make a chime in. Your control limited. Your control limited as to what is it that you can do. You enter these fix and flip sometime with a high level of uncertainty, not knowing what behind the walls and stuff like that. So
because you can't break the walls when you're buying a home.
Exactly. So quick. 90% of a cash buyer got you in for 10 minutes and say, yeah, we'll take it. I don't know what you can find in a 10 minutes, but you know, sometimes you encounter a huge problem in the middle of these fix and flip. Now, with new construction and new development, everything brand new, less headache.
You're the one building the walls.
Right.
What was it appealing for you to be like, okay, you know what?
Your level of compensation is in proportion to your level of service. So with a lot of times with the new construction, I feel like you're serving a bigger purpose. You're paying your contractors more money. You're building the economy. Like we literally, I remember we having a conversation with the governor, Albany on the project we just did recently. And just him being able to explain how they were coming in certain cities in Florida and actually building those cities up and creating cities out of the middle of nowhere. I feel like that was kind of like what compelled me to say, hey, listen, this is something I really want to do, man. Like,
who you provided, like the service.
Yeah.
What I love fake, because me and you talk about this to
100%.
Steve all the
Yeah,
time.
all the
The
time.
service of who, the people them who you're serving inside of the space of a new development. Say you find one new development being, you find a piece of dirt and you go do new development. What are some of the services you provide at that point and to the amount of people?
Man,
Reel them off.
No, amazing. So you're providing more money for your contractors. You're in the homeowners area and community, making their home prices go up.
So equity.
Equity. You're providing the title companies actual closings that you're doing, man.
Put money on for them too.
Yeah, so you're paying the actual title attorneys. A lot of times, like I said, you're providing the realtors more money. Because again, a lot of these neighborhoods that we're coming into, they're super, super big. We're looking at super large spreads. So even the realtors being able to go home and feed their family at the end of the day.
We provide a home where somebody can grow them family safe. Because we use these development for provide houses for family. And we are think about them while we are building these houses. So if we see something we're like, hey, if this person have a family with kids, this wouldn't be a safe thing for put yourself inside of the development. So develop this houses, Mamadou, with intention and having a family moving around. So and then you increase people home equity. What else you put a dent inside of the economy where housing shortage is concerned. The subcontractors, provide jobs. Like we have boost the economy in so much way. You provide service to a large amount of people in a new development, and I like that, Mamadou.
100%, guys. I mean, listen, if you're slightly, even 70% of an entrepreneur, one of the things we all have in common is you're never satisfied, right? Because there's no such thing as just a static level. Like the first time you try to wholesale, you want to make a 10K, then you make the 10K, then it's like, oh, that's it? Like after an hour, it dissipates, right? So like you keep chasing that high again, but it's really like, it's because you're always looking for that bigger mountain to climb. So for me, looking at new real estate, new development and looking at it and going, oh, this has no ceiling, meaning you can always, there's always a next level. There's always a next level. You can go from specs build, which is single family. You can start with luxury. Once you make a lot of money, you can go into low income, then you can go to commercial, then you can go to mixed use, then you can start building whole cities, then you can start going for government contracting. You see what I'm saying? And it's a skill now you can take it. Somebody can put you in the middle of a desert. And you will figure out how that to me was like, okay, this is what I was chasing.
I agree.
I've never realized that this is what I was chasing. So I'm telling you guys, like, listen, to summarize this, to me, if I have to go back, is the first thing is know yourself, right? Know exactly, are you getting into this to become an investor or just to make a 10K, which is fine because you're gonna know yourself, like depending also what age you start, right? But at the end of the day, here we are in the US. The US's banking system is built around credit, point blank, period. Most gurus you listen to, they're telling you about, because obviously they're selling a course, which is fine. But when they say no credit, every event I've been through, when I talk to them on a one-on-one, they are doing strategies in the back end where their credit is 800 plus because they understand the power of it. Is the US alone I saw where if you have great credit, you have a 9-to-5 where you're making, even if it's less than $100,000, you could get yourself into deals where you're just sponsoring big deals and you're doing nothing other than bringing your credit and your pay stubs. You don't bring the money, nothing. And they give you equity. You know that? They do it all the time in multifamily. That's the power of credit. Now add a little bit of cash into that. So if I have to go back, I would say from the beginning, understand that you cannot do without credit. Get your credit right, even if you're gonna wholesale, right? But get your credit right. It's going to open so many more doors for financing and so many different things. That's the first thing. Second thing, don't listen to any person that tells you that, trying to do flips is too complicated, is too, like you got to be a genie almost. No, it's not. It's absolutely not. They wouldn't be doing it. Why do they
Agreed.
have 10, 12, 15 going at a time? So don't be scared to get into it. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be muddy. You're going to have to learn while you make the mistakes. Me, I think always, like right now, guys, the way we move is when we decided we're going to do new development, the first thing we did is seek a mentor.
Yeah.
That mentor could be literally somebody physically that you just do a joint venture with. They walk you through one deal. And once you complete that deal, now you know the flow from A to Z. You know how you find the crew, you know how you recruit and everything with that being said, right? So don't be afraid, I would say, to do the leap.
Yeah.
And just go into, if you're looking to become a flipper or a real estate new developer, go into it right away once your credit is right. And the higher you go, the more the playing field is like leveled up. And also you're dealing with a higher level people, because when you talk about wholesaling, you're competing with everybody and their moms, because you don't need credit, you don't need nothing. And so with that being said, sometimes you call homeowners and they're also talking to 200 other people that don't know nothing about real estate, but you're still competing with those people, right? Over here, just the credit alone weed out 84 to 85% of people. So I would say don't be afraid to go big early. When I say big, doesn't mean start with, you guys understand what I mean. So go big early, fix your credit early. By the way, Steve is sitting here. He can get your credit right. He can get your LLC set up. He can get you funded.
Boom.
He handles all of our LLCs, get them funded all the time, getting people funded all the time. So make sure you reach out to him for that. What summary do you have?
My summary is to learn real estate. A lot of these guru them teach strategy.
Yeah.
And by the time them done beat the strategy down inside their head, then you don't know nothing about real estate or investing. You only know about subject to. Because every time them come on your platform, they think real estate stop a subject to. Right? Them they teach about the bigger picture. And once me get a hang at the bigger picture, my summary is get a hang at the bigger picture. Hang at the bigger picture to me, a financial literacy, the entire scope of what real estate is from start to finish, even though you have to start somewhere, but it's where you start is not the place you finish.
Correct.
Right? So once you get outside of that mindset, they are just learning one strategy over and over and over again, get up on your way. And once we start to understand the whole scope is when everything changed for we. Because me know Mamadou was a part of the subject to community, and then once him start to get a bigger picture where everything look like on a larger scale, him like, yo, let's go.
There's other strategies.
Yeah, Steve, what do you think?
Mine gonna be a combination of both, which I said I will say go bigger, faster. And then I will also say like choosing your mentors wisely, rather the mentors in the grave or rather mentors physically walking this earth is my friend.
Right, talk about the mentor in the grave. Before cut, talk about the mentor. It's the mentor who changed my perspective of life. Him dead years ago.
Yeah,
Right.
he said mentor in the grave.
Yeah.
So one of the concepts me and Andrew talk about all the time, as well as Mamadou, is, hey, listen, you guys go pick up the books from people that have done this for 90 and 80 plus years who are actually in the dead, and go read some of the books on these people's lives. A lot of times, people just don't pick up the books and read. You can't sit down for 30 seconds of focus. If you can sit down and do that, this will literally cut out 95% of the bullshit most gurus are gonna give you. Also, like Mamadou said, use your own discernment. If you say you're coming in this to be an investor, you wanna be a flipper, don't let anybody shy you away from that goal. Go learn from people who have done it, whether they're alive or, like I said, in the grave, and then kind of follow your path and go on your journey that way. So I would most definitely say go bigger sooner, and then use your own discernment when you're choosing a mentor. So, that would be the best thing.
So this is how we're actually going to wrap it up. I'm going to ask each one of you to give them 2 books, one mindset and one for real estate. If you had to tell them to get one book for mindset, which one would it be?
For me, Think and Grow Rich are my favorite of all time.
Okay, Think and Grow Rich for mindset. How about, real estate or business?
The Millionaire Investor for real estate. That I'm a Bible. That's how I open it up. Keller. I think that's the guy, Gary Keller, I think of the author name. Okay. But that big, nice blue book is a must read if you want to become an investor.
The Millionaire Investor. How about you?
Yeah, mine would most definitely be Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I love that book now.
Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by whom? Do you know?
I can't remember the artist's name on that one per se. But I would most definitely say Secrets of the Millionaire Mind and then Laws of Success. Even though it's not particularly a business book, but
no, that's a mindset. You have 2. So one business. The first one is business. Okay, mindset would be.
No, the first one a mindset. Because I read a book that also was Steve Attar. So a 2 mindset book you need a real estate.
No, I need one mindset, one business.
Profit first.
Profit first?
Yes, profit first.
I agree.
Profit first.
Guys,
Yes.
profit first.
Yes.
I 100% agree.
Profit first.
I can tell, oh my goodness. If I know it, guys, profits always.
Yes.
Take it home. You will never look back and regret taking profits home.
Yeah.
You got to read profits first. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
And then the mindset would be the laws of success.
Yeah, no.
That's by Napoleon Hill, right?
Yeah, Napoleon Hill, Laws of Success. But I would say Secrets of the Millionaire one is my mindset book.
Okay.
I like that.
Which one is for business?
That's
a business book.
Profit First would be the business book.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 2. All right, for me, definitely Think and Grow Rich, guys. Little bit biased because that's the one that completely cleansed my mind. And then the second one would be in terms of business, just not to copy Steve because you already gave that one, but definitely Profits First. It would be, The Art of the Deal by Trump. I have never in my life so far read a book. Forget about what you think about the guy as a politician.
Yeah.
That book will keep you up at night if you're truly somebody who aspire to become successful, to understand the art of putting deals together, persistence, man, the mindset that it takes, how to network. Like that book is a phenomenal book to read. That book kept me at night. That's the only book I ever read that I was like, every 4 a.m. I am up. I have to finish this book. So definitely that's a must-read book, 100%. All the strategies he talks about there still applies today. So the art of the deal when it comes to that, and then mindset is Think and Grow Rich, guys. You absolutely need to get it. So I'm going to put our library link down below. You can get it there. And guys, listen, we're going to keep on putting absolutely more podcast episode on this Boom Effect podcast. And if you don't know what the boom stands for, as I said it in the beginning, the B is for bold. So we have bold conversations here. We keep it raw. And then, obsessed, obviously, because you have to be obsessed to be an entrepreneur. So even all the guests we're going to bring here in their own respective field, we're only going to bring people that are obsessed. And they have to be also people that always think positive. So they're always for optimistic. And then lastly, the M is for mindset abundant, because there is enough for everybody. There's enough for everybody. We're all here, me and him 100% immigrants, him partially, not really, but partially, and one of the things me and Andrew probably definitely have including, I would say African Americans here is the lack of, we're greedy even with information.
Yeah.
There's enough for everybody. So in order to be, to come here, be a guest or have, anybody we bring here would be somebody who's definitely willing to share, because there is enough for everybody, to be honest. There's enough land for everybody. There is enough ugly houses for everybody. There's enough deals to wholesale for everybody. So that's what the boom stands for, guys. Bold, obsessed, optimistic, lastly, mindset abundant.
Yep.
We'll see you guys on the next episode, and stay tuned. Boom, boom.
Boom.